We have great news.
It's about time for us to show you some real boat building.
So let's get started.
Hi, I'm Roberta.
And I'm Duca.
And after bringing a sailboat that was neglected for over 22 years back to life, we moved aboard and for the next 2 years we explored the Brazilian coast and part of the Caribbean, where we got an offer that changed our lives once again. We sold our boat and we moved to France, where we are building our new 43-foot aluminum exploration sailboat.
And while the boatyard is building the hull of our new sailboat, we are learning the craft by converting a camper van to get ready to build the interior and all the systems of the boat ourselves.
So don't forget to subscribe and to join us every Sunday for a new episode.
Good news is that on the past weeks, we've been slowly going to the yard. When I say we, I say me. Roberta is not going to the yard because, as you know, she's pregnant and we don't want the baby to hear a lot of loud noise and a lot of dust. For Roberta is not good, so I've been going to the yard and slowly I'm gaining the confidence and I'm starting to be closer to the people that work on the yard, and that's good because that's the only way we can get along well and we can film the process and we can understand about our own boat, because we really want to know how the boat comes together.
So the boat's evolving and your French is evolving as well.
Yeah, I've been trying my best to communicate in French. So the last time we update you on the boat, we had 2 panels of the boat welded. The bottom one and the starboard one. It's complicated to explain, but pretty much I try to explain with words how the panels of the boat get to the right shape, and I didn't manage to do it because for me it's really hard to express with words. So I'm going to create 3 different situations that is going to explain really easy what I mean. So situation number 1, we have 2 flat aluminum plates. If I get the plate number 1 and plate number 2 welded together, that's what's going to happen. Imagine that these are the famous tack welds.
What is it?
Tack weld is a small welding just to keep the plate where you want, just to lock the plate in place. So let's imagine that I weld these 2 plates together with an angle. When I have 2 straight lines, the weld is going to end up with a constant angle. If I put 90 degrees, it's going to be 90 degrees here, 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 here. If I put 45 degrees, it's going to be 45 degrees all the way. So that means it's always going to be just one constant angle. But if one of the plates is not straight anymore, so now we're going to use a straight line plate and a curved one. So this is what happened on situation number 2. When I weld, the angle is not constant anymore. And that means it becomes a completely different shape. So you can compare situation number 1, constant angle, one straight line, no shape on the edges. The edges are still flat, straight. Situation number 2, the bottom plane now has a curve because of the different shape of this edge, and also the top part of this panel has a curve. So it starts to become a completely different shape than this 90 degrees or 45 or 30 degrees flat. But the boat is not exactly like that. The boat has 2 curved panels, and when you do that you end up with something that looks a lot more like a boat already, because the different curve in this panel compared to this panel, it creates a different shape for each one of the panels. And if you do the calculation right and if you draw it right, it will come to the shape you want as a 3D. And that's one of the really important steps when you build an aluminum boat, is what they call unrolling the aluminum. That means you design the boat in a 3D shape, but when you cut the aluminum, it's a 2D shape material. It's just a flat panel of aluminum, and in order to know exactly how the shape will end up when you weld it together, you need to transform the 3D model into a 2D model. That means you need to cut the welds on the computer, of course, and you need to make the panels flat again and know exactly the curve you cut. So when you weld it together, it will go to the format you want. You have like a shape on the bottom also of the boat now, and that's due to the different shape of the edges of the plates. So this is pretty much the stage we were on last episode. So now if we add the other side of the boat, if we did the drawing right when we unroll the plates, we are much closer to the real shape of the boat. But there is only one problem. these panels are really long. This is like 13 meters long. That means 40 something feet long. And with this much length, it can deform. Like if I do, for example, if I move this center of the panel down, the back of the panel goes up. See? If I put this one down, that goes up. If I put, so that means everything now works together, but at the same time, it might not be exactly precisely on the shape we want, because we are looking to have this edge on the right profile, on the right angle. One thing that you can do, and it helps a lot of course, is to add the bottom of the frames in place. So for example, this is the bottom of a frame. You see the profile here, you see the angle. This is the exact angle that the plate needs to be on that position. So I know exactly where this frame is located. And when I tack weld it in place, it will naturally bring the panel even closer to what it should be. So let's say here. So let's put this in place. Just adding the bottom of the frames in place already changed even more the shape of the plates. That's the most important step, because this step is gonna actually make the boat have the right shape, the right dimensions, and that means the boat is gonna be straight and even, like both sides equal. So the next step now is either to weld this last panel on the top of the side panel, so that means to finish welding all the panels of the boat, or install the frames first and then install the side panels. The one problem about installing the panels is because there's one thing missing. You know, on the side deck, when you have a lot of little holes to drain the water for drainage,
Some boats have it.
yeah, some boats have, some boats don't have, but we are gonna have like little holes on the edge of the panel to drain the water better, and also to attach blocks and lines and stuff. And we didn't know how it was gonna be when we ordered the panels, and that means they need to do it now, and it's easier to do on the ground than in place. So before they install the panels, they need to do that. So that's why I believe they're gonna do the frames first. That's good. Things are moving forward. That's something. We're really excited. I can't wait to have a boat. I want a boat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It seems so much more stiff already. It's just like 3 panels together, and it's already really, really stiff. Stronger, yeah. Yeah, when there was just the bottom panel, I would just move with my finger, really like soft, and would move everything. Now, it's good. So they started already creating these little holes for the water drainage of the deck. So they create 2 little holes with cup drill, and then they just do a line and cut the long parts.
The thickness of the hull.
That's the thinnest part. Yeah, that's the 8 millimeters one. That's the top side. Below this one is 10 millimeters, and then it's 12 millimeters. Good, remove it. The welding of these frames are actually temporary. You might be wondering now, why is it temporary? If you have the frame exactly where it should be, why don't you already weld fully? The reason for that is because you need to get the shape of the boat, first of all, but when you do that, you create a lot of tension in between the frame and the hull because the hull is not fully welded yet. That means all the tension of the side plate is held by a few tack welds. That means you have a lot of tension there, but it's necessary because you need the shape of the boat. So once you get the shape of the boat, you can move forward, and eventually, when you have more panels welded together, you can actually cut these welds. So that means the frames we just added are going to be cut. And the reason for that is because once you cut these welds and you release the frame, you release the tension, and the hull of the boat is going to go to its natural shape with a lot less tension on the weld. Once you have the right shape, then we are going to weld these frames back in place, and with this we can distribute the forces and the tension throughout all the welds. So now that we have the 6 bottom of the frames in place and the bow of the boat is already in a much better shape compared to what is going to be in the future, we need to do the same to the back of the boat, to the transom. The problem is that all these frames are like from the middle of the boat to the bow. On the back of the boat, all we have are 2 watertight bulkheads and the transom. So that means right now the boat has the transom too close. We need to open up the transom a little bit more. And in order to do that, we need to install the watertight bulkheads. But before we can do that, we need to reinforce the watertight bulkheads because it's going to suffer a lot of tension in this first stage. So that means if the watertight bulkhead is not reinforced, it can bend a little bit on the process. So it's much safer to put some brace and make it more stiff. Another cool news for this week is that hull number 2 is a reality now. Je vous présente hull number 2. That's the second boat of our boat that is going to be for one of you guys that is going to start right after they finish ours. They start this one. That's pretty cool. That's for a German guy that's going to have a chartering company. And the boat is exactly the same as our boat.
So if one day we want to sail on a Meta 43, it's going to be one available in 2020?
6, I guess.
6, 7?
I'm not sure. Yes, I think it's 26. But we'll see. That's pretty cool. I just love that every single time I go to the boatyard, the boat is a little bit different. Every structure you put on the hull, the shape of the hull slowly goes to what is going to be in the future. And this episode already brought the boat to a much better shape. But if you like this episode, next episode is going to be much, much better because next episode we're going to install the watertight bulkheads. And that means we're going to open up the transom so much more. And that was actually, to be honest, a lot harder than I thought and involves a lot of brute force. We're talking about 10 millimeters thick aluminum plates. It's one of the hardest tasks on this entire boat, and that's going to be next week. I can't wait to share with you.
See you guys next week.
See you next week.
See you.